Hello. In 21st century time, in the world, people like to know whatever you hear or whatever you read or whatever you see. People like to know the why, what for, or what reason. And in the mundane life, specifically in spiritual or religion. Why? What for? What is the fact? What is the benefit? These questions are very good questions. And specifically in Buddhism, we need to have this kind of question. Why? Why? What for? What for? What benefit? What benefit? What gain? What gain to me? What gain to other? And what kind of helpful studying Buddhism? So that is the academic way of learning religion, you can say. Basically, we're talking Buddhism. It's very good, and also not only dry study. We need to study, and what we learn, we need to affect it, and we need to become more soft, mentally more soft, more kind, more wiser, and more helpful, calm, and beware, kind and helpful, and wiser, and do good things, not for a short period, for long-term helpful things, in this kind of wiser. So, point is study and practicing together is very helpful. So, I think many of you will agree, scholar-practitioner is extremely important. Study, like academically, and practice what you learn. And you can learn a lot from the tradition of monastic way of how they study and how they practice. And it is also academic. You can have any question. If you have any doubt, you can ask question. And moreover, even nangchu jang goya ki ne zowa dawti ngarang su sheja sengte ki namsha te tandanga zo nangchu nala salbu songyore.
When it comes to training in the Dharma, what we're really talking about is coming to understand what there is to know, and knowing what there is to know, everything that there is to know, in a way that's very clear. So, what is it? How is it that things appear? All of these things that appear in this world, these manifold appearances, what is that like? And how is it that things actually are, the natural state, the abiding way of things? What is the relative truth? What is the ultimate truth? And knowing these things is what we are coming to learn about when we study the Dharma. Knowing how things are in an apparent manner and knowing what they're actually truly like. And so when we examine and we investigate in this way through studying the Dharma, then we are able to actually come to understand in our own experience to know how these things in fact actually are. And we can come eventually to an understanding of the natural state, to a realization of the way things truly are. Generally, when people study various topics of knowledge, often they study in a one-sided way. They study one thing or another. They focus on a particular topic of knowledge. But here, when we're talking about studying the Dharma, what that actually means is that we are studying generally. We are studying more broadly and generally about what there is to know. And that includes an incredible amount of things. And so when we study the Dharma in this way, when we're studying what there is to know generally about phenomena, this is something that can really open our minds. It can really expand our understanding and can be of tremendous benefit both to ourselves and to others. So when we talk about what does it mean to be confused or not confused, deluded, not deluded, what is the relative, what is the ultimate truth, how is it that things appear, and then how are they really, actually? When we check, when we examine, when we investigate into things in this way, we can come to gain a sense of certainty, a real sense of certainty and understanding about how things actually are. And when we talk about phenomena and how they actually are, we're talking about everything in samsara, nirvana, and the path. All of those things. We can come to understand them clearly, and we can come to have a real sense of certainty about what that means. And so then, when we study in this way, we ourselves become someone who is knowledgeable. We become someone who is wise, actually. And then, when you know that, you can share that knowledge with others. You can share that wisdom with others. And so this is really what it comes down to when we talk about studying the Dharma. And that's the important point. It's not just studying some kind of religion. It's not just studying a religious system. But we're actually learning about broadly and generally what is there to know and how are those things that we could come to know, what are they like? And so this then is what we are doing when we genuinely study the Dharma. Perhaps we could speak about this in a few different ways. We could talk about knowing generally the way that things are, sort of the ground or generally how things are. Then we can talk about learning the presentation of views and philosophical systems. And we can also talk about the wisdom that comes about from having practiced meditation. And when it comes to the general understanding of the way that things are, if we don't check, if we don't examine, which we don't most of the time, then we look around and everything seems so real, seems permanent and lasting. But if we just check for a single moment, we can see that all of these things around us are not real. We can see that they are changing every moment, that they are impermanent. That's their nature. And if we don't examine in that way, if we don't really investigate, then we don't have confidence about the fact that things are unreal and that they are impermanent. We don't get that confidence unless we actually examine and investigate. When it comes to understanding the views and philosophical systems, there are many different traditions, religious traditions in the world that have a variety of views and a variety of philosophical systems. And it's very helpful and useful for us to train in these and to learn about these. We speak about the view, the meditation, the conduct, the result. That's one way in which we break down and frame this study, and that's very helpful. It's good to do that. And particular in the context of the Buddhist tradition, we again have different views, meditations, conducts, and so on that go with the general vehicle of the teachings and the teachings of the Mahayana, and then the teachings of mantra, of secret mantra. And it's important that we examine, and it's important that we investigate and learn about these views and these systems. And it's important that we do this by listening to instructions and teachings that are given by a genuine spiritual teacher. And then, having received that kind of instruction, we can go on to read the Buddhist canon, the Kangyur and the Tengyur, the translated words of the Buddha, and the commentaries or the treatises that comment upon the meaning of those words. And then, finally, it's important that we think about that ourselves. We actually have to investigate what we have heard and what we have read. Because what that leads us to is to overcoming wrong views and misunderstandings and doubts. We can only do this through our own investigation. The real essential point of the Buddha Dharma, however, is to bring about compassion and wisdom within us, to allow those qualities of compassion and wisdom to flourish within us. And so if we want to do that, we have to practice. There's no way to do that, to bring forth those qualities within us without practice. And actually it is said, there's a saying that says, if he practices, if he doesn't practice, even a pandita is deluded, is confused. And if he practices, even a shepherd can be liberated. And so what that means is a shepherd is somebody who doesn't really know that much, right? Someone who looks after sheep or cows and doesn't really train that much. But if that person, without so much knowledge, knows the main point and practices, that can lead to liberation. That person can attain awakening. And a pandita, a scholar, somebody who is incredibly learned in so many different topics and has trained extensively, without putting those into practice, that person remains confused. And so here, the point is that we have to practice.